Green is on, isn't it? Because it's off. Cool out here. It's gonna be in the morning. That's cool this morning, but it's gonna be cool. That's cool.
Ready, Aaron?
You are ready.
Okay. Welcome everyone tonight to the Graham City Council meeting on October the 8th, 2024. Appreciate everyone taking time out of your day to be here today. Like to call the meeting to order and ask for Pastor Michael Evans from Graham Bible Methodist to come forward and do our invocation and speak a little bit about. You have something to
Just-
speak about today, right?
Just something
Sure.
short.
Yeah,
How are y'all this evening? Oh,
welcome.
thank you. My name is Michael Evans and I pastor Graham Bible Methodist Church located at 505 Providence Road. And I just wanted to give you guys, I talked to Councilmember Joey the other day and we were discussing a new ministry opportunity that our church has stumbled across. And just recently we built and installed a new blessing box in our parking lot driveway area. And what it is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a box. It's shaped like a church and we put non-perishable food items in it. And anything from like diapers and baby food and canned food and bottled water, Bibles, all that. We've had it open for about 2 months. And to be honest with you, we hardly can keep it full. It just continues to go. And I just want to share a quick story and then I'm going to pray and I'll get out of y'all's hair and let you do some business. But we had a couple that we have cameras around our church and just 2 weeks ago, we had a couple pull up in an old beat up car and they got out and it was a husband and a wife and a little boy around the age of 6 or 7. And they walked up to the blessing box and opened it up and they got a can of tomato soup and opened it right there and started drinking it and licking the lid because they were so hungry. And so I just wanted to share that with the city council and just say that we are we would ask for your prayers. We would ask that you guys would just join with us if you could. This coming Sunday, we're having our Faith in Blue Sunday. We're hosting the Graham Police Department at our church at 9:30 for coffee with a cop. And I've already sent Joey an email about it. But we're also dedicating the blessing box. So I would ask 3 things. Number 1, that you would join us in prayer and ask that God would bless that ministry and help our community. Number 2, if you know anybody that wants to donate, you're more than willing to drop off anything. It's just a free box. Drop it off. And number 3, if you know anybody that needs anything, any family, anybody that's homeless, anybody that's just down on their luck, it's there. And so I just want to give that opportunity and make it known to the city and say thank you guys for everything that you guys do.
Can you explain a little bit, where exactly you are you're on Providence Road?
Yes,
Is that,
ma'am.
so there's Providence Church there in the curve. Where are you in relation to that?
Keep going around the curb, go through the stoplight, and it's the first church on your right.
Okay, yes,
Yeah,
I know.
with the
Yes,
stone wall out,
right down from REA. REI.
Yes,
Okay. Yep,
right down from REA. Yes, ma'am.
yeah, REA.
Yeah,
That's right.
and we have a circle drive, and in the circle drive is the blessing boxes right there on the side. So,
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
yes, ma'am. So if you guys don't mind, can I say a word of prayer with everybody?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Dear Jesus, we come to you tonight, and Lord, I just want to stop for just a minute and say thank you for the opportunity that you give us to call upon your name. Lord, we're so thankful. We're blessed beyond measure tonight. Lord, we could go around the room and we could talk about all the blessings that we have. And Lord, we're so thankful for what you've done for us in our hearts and our lives. And dear Father, we come to you tonight, and Lord, we pray for the city of Graham. We pray for our community. Lord, you see the ones that are in need in our community. Lord, I pray that you would just touch them and help them, dear Father. And I pray that the local churches and the city and the county would be able to minister to these in need. And then, dear Father, I pray tonight for each council member. I pray for the mayor, Lord. You know that they're on our prayer list at our church on a weekly basis. We pray that you would just continue to give them wisdom and give them guidance, dear Father, as they lead our beautiful city and our beautiful town. Lord, we do pray today for those, our neighbors in the mountains in the Western North Carolina. We have friends that live up there and people that we know. I just pray that you would just please help each first responder. We know we sent some from our police department, local fire department up there. Would you keep them safe and help them to be a help to these people in need? And Lord, we do pray for those that's going to be affected by this hurricane in Florida. Would you be with them and touch them and protect them and give them wisdom and guidance as they lead their state and their cities? Lord, I thank you that you are amazing. Lord, you love us. You care for us. You've blessed us beyond measure today. And Lord, I just pray that you'd bless the city council. Would you bless the mayor? Would you help in the upcoming elections? Lord, I just pray that you just put your hand upon our city. And Lord Jesus, I pray that you'd help us. And we'll give you the praise and all the honor and all the glory. In Jesus' name, we ask these things.
Amen.
Amen.
And you guys are all invited Sunday. We'd love to have you.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. If everyone will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic in which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, and if I could get David Hall from David Hall's Body Shop to please come forward and have his family also come forward as well. Up here.
Oh.
Stand on either side.
She's not. She's not. I'm videoing for her though.
Okay, good. So in recognition and honor of David Hall for 30 years of an outstanding business owner in the city of Graham, whereas Mr. David Hall is retiring from David Hall's Paint and Body Shop after 30 years of serving Graham and surrounding communities, and whereas David remodeled the business in 2000 as the current existing building located on East Hardin Street, and whereas David was awarded the Reader's Choice Award in 2021 and received the Auto Body Specialist designation from the National Institute of Automotive Service of Excellence, and whereas David was certified in Adjuster Transfer EMS by E-Auto Claims and held a CFC 12 certificate from the Mobile Air Conditioning Society, and whereas David's retirement plans include taking a road trip with his beautiful wife to New York to see his oldest grandson, enjoying his grandkids, and working on DIY projects. And whereas David's loving family includes his dear wife, Judy Hall, son and daughter-in-law, Brian and Susan Hall, daughter and son-in-law, Tiffany and Jeremy Pollard, and 5 grandchildren, Stephen, Caleb, Jonathan, Esther, and Keenan. Now therefore, the city of Graham Mayor and City Council recognize Mr. David Hall for his dedication and service to the citizens of Graham and the surrounding communities and wish him a long and happy retirement. Presented this the 8th day of October, 2024. Jennifer Talley, Mayor for the City of Graham.
Thank you.
Thank you. Want to say something? It's Sunday.
Thank y'all, thank you.
All right, thank y'all for being here. Thirty years is a long time to own a business.
Yep.
And now we will move on to the 2024 Graham Fire Department Explorer Post number 4010. And I recognize Fire Chief Tommy Cole for this presentation.
Hello, guys. Madam Mayor, Council, it's my honor to stand before you today to recognize a group of individuals in our department who have excelled at what they have set out to do and really have made me proud to be their fire chief as we recognize them for a special accomplishment. But before I get started, I just want to share with you that there's also members from Hall River that are joining us here tonight. So part of that reason is, and I'll have them explain it, we teamed up with them on some of the events that they're going to be recognized for. But more importantly is just the relationship between our two fire departments. My counterpart, Tyler Franklin's here. He's fire chief at Hall River. He and I work together on a lot of projects, and there's not many days that Hall River and Graham are not responding together somewhere, either in our cities or on the interstate together. It's seamless. It's really an awesome thing to see. We set out to accomplish that goal, to be able to be good neighbors to each other and provide services to our communities together. Neither one of us are probably big enough to handle all of our emergencies, so we rely on each other. So Hall River is an excellent partner with the city of Graham, and I just want to say thank you to the town of Hall River and especially their fire department and Chief Franklin for that relationship. So the reason we're here tonight is to talk about the state junior firefighter competition that was held on August the 17th. It was hosted by Hall River, which is pretty awesome too. It's here in Alamance County, but it's open to all junior and explorer programs across the state. They come in, they have a competition, and I'm gonna get someone that can explain a lot better and give you the details about exactly what they did. But they had 7 teams come in and compete against each other. Our teams finished in 3rd place, which is amazing. First one we've ever participated in. And there was one competition that they say is the hardest one of them all that we took 1st place in, but 3rd place overall. So, and part of that is there's a couple of junior programs that all they do is train to be in competitions. We beat them in the hardest competition. So that's what that's what I'm most proud of. But, and if they're listening, they're in Johnston County. So I just want to make sure we tell Cleveland Fire Department in Johnston County we beat you. So anyway, I'd like to call up Chief Franklin, Amber Murray. Amber is a lieutenant with the Hall River Fire Department, and also Brian Smith, who is our Explorer Post advisor. And Amber coordinated the whole thing. So Amber, can you give us just a brief summary of the competition and what you did and to set it up and anything I may have missed or butchered in my presentation?
I can try. So this past year we had 6 events. So they all range, they're all firefighting events. They help the kids prepare to be firefighters later in life if that's what they choose to do. One was quick dress. One was like a knot tying event, a RIT drill, which is where they go in and rescue a downed firefighter. We simulate that. And then we had a mystery event where they searched around for victims. And then the last one was a water polo. That was our big event that they actually won 1st place in. Basically, there was a barrel, there was 2 lines. It's kind of like tug of war. You're trying to get the barrel across the line and back and forth, but you use 2 hose lines to do it. Other than that, that was all of our events. We had 7 teams this year from all over the state.
And then you
Anything
had,
else?
then you had an after,
Yeah, we have a
Yeah.
banquet at the end. It's really big. We host it at the Old Lambs Chapel in Haw River. And we present all the awards. They have a nice meal. We give out raffle prizes, all that. So it's a really good time.
Brian, would you like to say anything about it?
What's great about that competition is we, at Graham, we don't train, for the competition. We train what's going to be firemen, right? So we didn't train and say, hey, look, we're just going here to win. We're training these young men and women to be great firemen, great people. That's what we want, right? So this program is huge. It's really big for the city of Graham. And we put City of Graham and City Hall River, on the map with this event. People from all over the place was like, this little old town just beat us. And it was, I lost my voice for 3 days. So it's a pretty big deal. And these people, these young men and women behind me that you'll see, they are amazing and they are the future of the fire service or the EMT service or some kind of something in our city, hopefully. So they're amazing kids and, we should really appreciate everything they do for us.
Madam Mayor, if it's okay, I'd like to have them come up and we do a photo op with the council, you, the council.
Yeah.
And thank them for their accomplishment.
How, do we do any, recruiting as a result of this?
So,
work that we-
I know I don't want to take up a lot of time and I can get to talking and just keep going. So, so when I came here 5 years ago, one of the things that I wanted to establish was a junior firefighter or explorer program. The difference is junior firefighter is kind of hosted, solo by the city. The Explorer Post is through the Boy Scouts of America. We chose to go the Explorer Post route. We may change that at some point, but that really doesn't matter. So we internally started, I said, hey, to get this program off the ground, let's start with our own kids, right? Firefighters and the kids within the department. Let's work out our kinks and problems internally before we open it up to the outside. So we did that, and we had a few, and we went a couple of years. It was kind of up and down, but we got the kinks worked out. One of the most important things I did is when Brian joined our fire department as a volunteer, Brian said, hey, I'm really looking for my niche. I want to find out something I can do, right? I want to be a firefighter too, but there's something special. Brian said, let me run the Explorer Post. I said, hey man, take off, right? So we did that. So Brian started the recruitment. He has a group of our firefighters, volunteers, and paid staff, and they recruit. And we went from 2 to 11.
Now we have 12.
12. Yep, in just a couple of years, we increased that many, and we go to events, and when we get back, Brian will be like, "Hey, I think we recruited like 1 or 2 new people while we were at the event." So, our kids recruit for us. They're friends. They tell them about what we're doing in our programs, and they see us out at events and see us doing things. That's the best recruitment tool we have, right? But we do recruit, and the program's growing. We've talked about maybe even having a cap, how many can we really take on? But right now, we're at 12. So and we just had our first member. He's actually sitting back here in the back, Gavin Squires, just graduated out of the program and became a volunteer. We're doing the volunteer paperwork now, but he's the first one to kind of go through the program and become a volunteer. We have Evan Faust right behind him, that'll be next. And we have Kamari, I don't know Kamari's name. Kamari Bailey, who will also be graduating out and becoming a volunteer member with our department as well. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, it
Thank
is
you
awesome.
so much.
Yeah. Can I bring him up?
Mhm.
Yep. All you guys, James, everybody.
Sorry.
Did they want us to come down?
And it's hard to tell who's Graham and who's Haw River because all of our people work together. And so sometimes they're on my payroll, sometimes they're on Tyler's, but
Hard for me to go down a step.
Yeah, except Brian. Brian didn't get paid for it.
All right, slide over here, Joe.
Right, fighting up, guys.
Yeah.
Fight each other.
Yep, bring it on in. Keep going. Keep going.
Stand right here. I'll just stand.
All right, you ready? 2 smiles on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Chief, can you stick around to the end of the meeting and give us an update on the volunteers or people who are going out west?
Yes, sir. I'll be glad.
Okay, consent agenda. A, to approve the September 10th, 2024 council's meeting minutes and sealed closed session minutes. B, to approve a budget amendment appropriating fund balance in the amount of $7,000 for the repair of planters and to increase property maintenance department budget by $7,000. To approve a budget amendment appropriating fund balance in the amount of $30,000 for bank reconciliations and related entries and to increase the finance department budget by $30,000. To approve a resolution accepting $500,000 funding for drinking water state revolving fund, the DWSRF Emerging Contaminants EC funds. To approve the request from the Alamance County Veteran Services for the Veterans Day Parade on Saturday, November 9th, 2024, which includes the closure of McCaden Street pending approval from NCDOT for closure of a state road. To approve an amendment to the Graham Historical Museum Advisory Board bylaws to allow 2 members who reside in either the extraterritorial jurisdiction area or within Alamance County to serve on the advisory board.
Madam Mayor?
First, is there anyone that would like to pull an item from the consent agenda? Okay. I would like to make a comment on the 30,000 is just moving from one department to another. Is that not correct, Aaron?
So the point of that move is to move that money so that we can pay for I think his name's Greg Isley, CPA. The funds are in some ways are already there. We just slide it so that we can accommodate where we're having to pay them for the services that they're done in excess of what we had initially budgeted.
Okay, and then the 500,000 funding is for the PFAS, is that correct?
Yes, for a study that Hazen and Sawyer were able to obtain. So we're able to move forward with that study.
So this was a grant that we were awarded.
That's correct.
So everybody understand that, $500,000? I don't know that that's necessarily clear in the way it's, you know what I mean? That's why I just wanted to explain. I didn't understand what that was when I saw that initially. And then the Veterans Day service, we don't close Highway 54, but I'm assuming that's what DOT is going to be doing, Main Street, is that right?
So yeah, any portions that DOT are responsible for, council's approving the event for the city streets, and then I would then send council approves to DOT to let them know, so that will initiate them to be able to handle the DOT roads.
Yep. And then F, I would like to have that one particular item pulled, just have a slight change to that I would like to recommend to the council. Other than that, those items, do we have a motion to approve A through E on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion, we approve. Mayor.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. On item number F, I'd like to see if we could agree to one in the ETJ and then only one in Alamance County for the advisory board, rather than two possibly being from outside both Graham and the ETJ. Would the council be agreeable to that, that we would allow up to, it's still a 5-member board, is that right, Aaron?
So
7-member board. So one could be from the ETJ and one could be from Alamance County.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I
Okay.
think 2 is too many.
Do I hear a second? All in favor of making that adjustment to one being from the ETJ and one being from Alamance County to serve on the advisory board? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. public hearing on the annexation of 0.79 acres off Jimmy Kerr Road, AN 2403, continued from September 10th, 2024. A public hearing has been continued to consider the annexation ordinance to extend the corporate limits to the city of Graham for 2 tracts of land totaling 0.79 acres off of Jimmy Kerr Road. Recognize Assistant City Manager Aaron Holland.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Actually, we are here to discuss the annexation request for extension of corporate limits for properties located off Jimmy Kerr Road, containing approximately 0.79 acres. Water is located along the frontage of this property within the Jimmy Kerr Road right of way. And the applicant is requesting to annex in order to tie on to the city's infrastructure. From what I understand, there's a issue with that individual's water, and they're looking to tie on to the city's water. A portion of the property is already in the city in Zone B2. And you can see on your screens that little section right here. So there is a portion that currently is in the city, and they're looking to annex those 2 pieces into the city in its entirety.
All right, if we annex them, we're gonna announce them as a B2.
So we wanted to match it up because the
Right.
future land use
Right.
plan for that area leads to it being either
Right.
commercial or industrial.
To trigger Alamance County to go out there and do a reassessment.
I've always thought it was based off of what the use is that's currently out there. Right now, it's just a house and a garage.
Did they don't go back out there and reassess?
Not from what I understand.
Okay.
So Aaron, this came up twice on the planning board schedule, right? This and the next item for rezoning, the
That,
same
well,
piece of property?
not the annexation, but the rezoning did.
Okay.
The rezoning request was tabled by the planning board and then brought forward this past planning board meeting and was recommended for denial, but that was on the rezoning request.
But it was tabled because the person didn't show up for the meeting, right?
That's correct.
Person requesting it.
That's correct.
No, I know.
But
We'll be there. Just 1 second. Go ahead.
yeah, that was it.
Okay, but they did recommend approval.
No.
On the rezoning, they recommended now, because the applicant wasn't present at the time of the meeting.
Okay, but they did recommend approval on the zoning.
They didn't recommend anything.
Nothing.
No.
Annexation doesn't go through planning board. So only the rezoning went through planning board.
Okay.
And for what I understand, and I'm sure whenever she comes to the microphone, there was a date that I think you thought it was a certain date and it was a different date or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
But it was twice, right? 2 different dates.
Ma'am, ma'am,
Could you
we-
come up?
So that's a public hearing, and so, we'll open this now for the public hearing.
Sorry, Shannon
If
Donahoe.
If you'll state your name and your address. honey.
Yep, Shannon Donahoe, 759 Jimmy Kerr, Paul River right now. I apologize for the first time I was not made aware I needed to come to the meetings. I was just told I had to turn in my applications with the payments, and so I did. And then the second, when I was informed I needed to come to the meetings, I was emailed the Wednesday, the day after the meeting. So I was here on Wednesday, but nobody was here on Wednesday. And so then I reached out and looked up on your city's website, but I had been emailed the incorrect date and time for the meeting. So it was my fault. I didn't check the city's website, but I just went by the email of the communication with the, city employee. So I apologize for that.
It's my first time hearing.
I mean, I have the emails if,
No, I
so-
believe you. I'm sure you would have come if you thought you needed to come.
yes, so.
And the reason that you're asking for the annexation is because you need access to water?
Yes, ma'am. My well needs to be replaced, and because it's a small property, they're concerned that it's gonna be quite difficult to put a new well in there because just it's a smaller property and the, how close the sewer or septic is, like, that it would be. So they suggested that if I can access public water, that would be the better way. So,
And you're aware that everything around you is like B2, right?
yes, ma'am.
What's the property above that, that's adjacent to her above that, Aaron?
Like,
It's in Hall River. I think it's maybe those
You know what it's?
properties. It's whatever Hall River. I don't know what Hall River zoning is. I want to say that was something they were looking at doing apartments or something at one time, but I don't know if that's still the plan.
yeah. So directly next to me is a electric substation. That's what actually butts up to my property. On the other side, yes, I believe it's apartments that they're putting
Yeah,
in.
and I'm not even sure if that's ever taken off or not, but
They have started construction.
Okay.
It's not, I think there's still a piece of property in between the electric station and that, but they are putting in,
okay,
like I said, I've been told.
But you're looking to just continue to use it as a residential property?
Yes, ma'am.
which is permitted in the B2.
In B2, yeah. And is your desire to change it to B2?
Yes, I don't mind that. So,
The issue about don't get anything residential, it would make it non-conforming. So, there might be an issue with the setbacks. Because if you go R18, it requires deeper setbacks for the existing structure. That's the only concern about, and then it would be against the land use plan as well, which is recommending that that property be something that is a commercial or industrial zone piece of property for what it is thought to be down the road.
Well, you can't do conditional?
I mean, for what she's asking to do, she's only asking to tie on for water. It's not for a use change. She wants to maintain the house as is. If anyone decides to do anything with that property, they would probably want to do something that's in line with the existing properties around it, which are commercial.
Can you pull up all the B2 uses?
Basically, anything with an X in this column here, which is basically, it's our general commercial, so anything that's commercial. But you have gas stations, truck stops, hotels currently in that vicinity already. And that property is not large, it's only 0.79 acres.
What's on the property?
A house?
yeah, there's a house and then there's just a metal building I use as a,
Like an outbuilding?
yeah, exactly.
Let me know if I'm going too fast, because it's basically everything. Yes.
Is there any other, I guess my concern is like whenever you try to change something from residential to commercial, is there any neighbors around there that would have any issues with that? Like, do you have you said you have an electrical box
Mhm.
to the north, I guess,
Yes.
of your property?
And then the back, it's all woods. There's, which don't know this for sure, but when we bought it, we were told that was gonna be developed well, right now they're already putting, they're building back kind of behind one of the hotels there, but I'm not sure what they're building. And then, which is a commercial. And then the only neighbors I kind of have is directly across the street. There's two smaller brick ranches that, are the only two like houses that are all close to me. And there's a third brick ranch that is, I think on the property of, the Burlington School that's right there, but
Mhm.
there's no one in it. Like it's totally empty and it's been empty. So I think that's on their property.
So it's residential across the street, Aaron?
just 2 houses.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know
it's,
about
I think it's two single-family homes.
Are they zoned residential?
I want to say there was a Haw River, I don't know Haw Rivers,
Those are Hall River.
yeah, I don't know their zoning classifications. Yeah, so they're
No, no
unzoned,
zoning.
yeah, they're unzoned there. I know they're not ours.
And this was unzoned, right?
Yes, those two, except for that portion that's within the city, right here on the edge of that piece right here. This piece is in the city. But that's part of this property here. And that's why the B2 was more of a natural suggestion of zoning, because it's already partially zoned B2 currently.
And right now with no zoning, they could put something commercial there anyways, right? All right, what's council? Think you have any questions for this owner? You are the owner of the property,
Yes.
right? Any questions?
Just, yeah, kind of. I think in the past, we've allowed people to connect to the water without being annexed. The reason why we're annexing this just for
Yeah.
0.79.
It's contiguous with the city limits. If you're not contiguous, if you remember a few months ago, there's a gentleman out in the Hall.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, yeah.
We had a water line that ran through, but he was not adjacent to any of the city limit lines.
Okay.
So you're able to do that special permission that way. But
Right.
if you're contiguous, then you have to do as she's doing, which is request to be annexed in.
Okay,
It's part of our policies that council had approved.
okay.
Okay. Anyone else here for this public hearing that would like to speak on the proposed annexation? Hearing none, we need a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now we need a motion and a second to either approve or deny the annexation ordinance.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the annexation ordinance to extend the corporate limits to the city of Graham for the 2 tracts of land totaling 0.79 acres located off of Jimmy Kerr Road.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Welcome to the city of Graham.
Thank you.
On the city council will now consider a rezoning from unzoned to B2 general business for 2 tracts of land totaling 0.79 acres located off Jimmy Kerr Road. We'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak on the proposed annexation for the B2 zoning? Hearing none, I have need to hear a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
Madam, I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to close the public hearing passed unanimously. Now I need a motion and a second to approve the rezoning request to B2 general business for the 2 tracts of land totaling 0.79 acres off Jimmy Kerr Road.
You don't think this should go back to the planning board?
No.
Okay, so we're gonna set that precedent then? We don't
No,
need to do
that-
that, or?
From sitting on the planning board, that's the way it's always been done. If it can't get the person to come to the board, it comes to us. And we've ruled in it from that standpoint.
I will say that it's not my understanding that they have any opposition to it. And if, in fact, she has stated that she was given the wrong date, I
Well,
mean,
that was one time, not the other time. What happened the other time, did you say?
she wasn't told to be there. You have some
Okay.
indication that they had a problem with the zoning?
Well, I mean, I just don't want to start going around them, you know, because they're there for a reason and the process is there for a reason, so, you know, but
But I don't think they objected to the rezoning. It was the fact she had not shown up.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, I think, what Councilman Hall was mentioning earlier, I think that's always been a practice of planning board. If a individual that's requesting a zoning change is not present, then they automatically, whether they love or hate what's being presented, or what's in front of them, they automatically go with a denial. It then goes to council, and then generally what happens, the individuals show up for the council meeting, and then they handle business from that point. I think to what she's speaking on earlier, when you're dealing with I believe you had a surveyor provide the survey, that's generally who Cameron talks with, because they had to know what they need to have submitted, this, that, whatever. She has to sign it and present it. So you have two different bodies that are being spoken with during this process. And generally, the annexation and the rezoning, that's not something that we see all the time. It's usually, there's a zoning already in place. It's just an annexation, so it's typically simpler. But in this case, you do have the two-step, which is what she had, and the conversations with the surveyor may have been handled over here and not necessarily conveyed with her on the back end. So I don't think she purposely was not going to be available for the meeting. I just think that it was a conversation that was had with the surveyor over here that necessarily didn't happen with her over there.
Yeah, I think maybe if you just act as as someone to go back to the planning board and explain to Dean, so that he can relate to the rest of the board that, that we were able to ask questions of the applicant and felt comfortable
And I don't mind,
moving
I don't
forward
mind seeing that.
as, so as to not to delay her to a third month. Because obviously she needs water.
Yeah,
So,
I don't mind seeing that. I can get with Cameron tomorrow, and I know that the situation dealing with her water is the situation that she's dealing with currently, and would be the same situation or worse next month, so.
yeah,
Because it would eventually end up here at the council anyway to approve it.
that's correct. I see Bonnie's point, but I do think that if they would have had a problem, I would have gotten a call or something, or had some indication from them. But I think it was just, and I do think that if they're gonna have a policy that's unwritten about that you have to show up, then we need to make that clear in the letter to the applicant that, because nowhere you're gonna find that on the website or anything. They need to make it clear that if they want approval, they need to show up so that they can answer questions about the application, and that needs to go to that applicant in writing.
And generally speaking, when someone coming for a rezoning for any other purpose, that's spoken with, because that's the main conversation that you're having with that applicant that's going through the process. But in her case, it was an additional step to the annexation. So it was not necessarily the only thing, and it was discussed with a surveyor, not necessarily with her. If I'm speaking correctly. Okay. And I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. Okay.
Okay, so I'm calling now for a motion and a second, in regards to the rezoning request.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the rezoning to B2 general business for 2 tracts of land totaling 0.79 acres located off Jimmy Kerr Road, and the rezoning is consistent with Graham's 2035 comprehensive plan and consistent with the current land zoning and land use plan for the overall goal of establishing water in this residence.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Welcome to the cheapest tax rate in Grant, and in Alamance County. So you'll be very glad. We appreciate you coming into Grant. Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully we made the process painless. All right,
Well, at least we know what we need to fix now, so.
all right, thank
Good night.
you. Amendment, development, and ordinance, distance on of recreational open space. City Council will consider approval of an ordinance amending Article 4, Division 12, Section 10.249, open space provisions for R12, R15, and R18 zoning districts and development ordinance, adding location requirements for recreational open space. I recognize Assistant City Manager Aaron Holland.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So basically, what we're doing tonight with this particular ordinance amendment is to take that next step from what we did a couple of months ago, where council approved the requirement for anyone that's looking to do a provision on these rezonings where they want to get a relaxation on the square footage of the R12 to a R10, to a 10,000 square foot and so on. This is making it where they're gonna have to have 90% of the dwellings within a certain distance of these active spaces. So to get you into a mindset of what I'm getting at with this, if you take a subdivision that has 100 lots, there are R12, we have the 10,000 square foot provision request. They're gonna have to have, after every 8 or 9 lots, an active space in place. That's if you're going with the 1/8 of a mile distance along the road. So when council was discussing this with us a couple of months ago, that was a concern, was that the active space could be tucked away in areas that certain individuals within the subdivision may not be able to enjoy. By going with this route, it's forcing them to still do this, but not have it concentrated in one area. It has to be within certain areas. So basically, they're giving up a lot every 8 or 9 lots to put something in that space. So I think that's what council was looking for staff to come up with. I wish I could say that we came up with this on our own, but we did take this from other municipalities that had provisions in place for open space, where they were trying to integrate the active space within the flow of lots as you're going down through the subdivision. So hopefully I made sense with that, but staff had recommended doing it within a 1/4 mile, every 1,320 feet as you're coming down. And it cut that in half to every 1/8 mile, which is every 660 feet. So if you look at a 60-foot lot, then that's about every 10 lots you would have something. Obviously, staff recommend approval.
Are you okay with what the planning board recommended, or?
I'm perfectly fine with it. I think what it does, it requires the developer to have to design their projects with not just a sea of lots in a row. It has them sort of thinking of how to put certain amenities within the subdivision, within the stretch of properties. If you take Valleyfield subdivision, for example, if you think about 9 or 10 houses, you're not gonna have a lot after that point. You're gonna basically have to give up a lot to put something there. And then you start doing your thing again, and then you do it again. So you're basically having to put stuff within that space so that subdivision doesn't have just houses all the way down from the beginning of the entranceway all the way to the back of the property.
So then they would basically have a green space, instead of having maybe one large green space somewhere, they're gonna have these little bitty green spaces all over. Is that what you're,
But that only.
or recreational
Right,
spaces?
but it wouldn't be green space, it would be your active spaces. So it would be actually usable space. It wouldn't be just your open space, which they're gonna be required to do anyway. It would be coming from that, I think it was like 5,000 square feet of active space that they're gonna be required to have to put in. So you have your overall grand,
Splitting it up into smaller,
that's correct. So you're taking your active
Wonder what you're
space-
gonna put like on something the size of a lot in terms of for people
Correct.
to use. What are you gonna put there? I don't know.
Right, so you would have different amenities sprinkled throughout versus having one thing in one spot that counts for whatever it is that they're trying to do.
Trying to envision.
Yeah, I don't know. That's,
So what we're saying then, every resident needs to be within an eighth of a mile.
With 90%.
An eighth of a mile is not,
that's,
I mean,
like you said, in a development of 100 houses, that'd be like every 10th house or, I mean, that's a lot of, have like 10
But that's why staff.
playgrounds.
That's why staff was suggesting
you'll have-
Too, I
quarter of
mean-
a mile.
You have 10 pop-up parks instead of having a big park like we've got. It would be broken up.
But that's why staff is recommending every quarter mile, because then you're having your tennis courts or ultimate frisbee fields or your dog parks or your gazebos or whatever they're choosing as their active space. Have it, we say every quarter mile because it does stretch it out a little bit further. And it would make it more of every 20 to 22 lots, so to speak, on a 60 foot wide lot versus, having to have whatever within. And more than likely you would have dog parks, because that's generally the.
Yeah, because I'd want that next to my house for certain. Not really. I would not. That's just me. I would not. There's a reason I didn't buy a house near the park in Valleyfield. Because I don't want to listen to it. I'm just saying.
But this was taking council's suggestion of trying to get them to necessarily give up not having a lot in, saying like that this was what council had asked. So it's a way to accommodate what that ask was to try to get this sprinkled within the developed area of the subdivision versus tucked away.
I guess I'm a visual person. I'd like to see how that would look.
So
My concern is if you break it down and say you have 10 of these little pocket parks,
Mm.
you're gonna cut down on a nice amenity they could put on a bigger spot.
Yep.
And just have a
Yeah.
dog park or a,
but that's what you have currently.
right. I'm just not 100% thinking this is the exact fix.
I'm not
Well,
either.
yeah, I think
But
initially, even like with my request, it was not necessarily to be used for open space. It was to be, recreational, active space, but just to say that the way development used to be, it was that, it seems, this is the way it used to be, is that when you went to develop a lot, you went through and you marked trees with markers, with tape and ribbons and stuff and said, we're gonna keep these trees, this tree, this tree, this tree. And now what you see with development is just a complete clear cutting of those open space and not really having any of those mature natural plantings, from the beginning. They just clear cut the whole thing. And so how can we make sure that if we're giving up density, that they're replacing that, in a more even split, with open space sprinkled throughout the development.
But it is a one-to-one on that currently. So if you're asking for say a R12 and going to 10,000, for the 2,000 you're giving up, that's open space that they have to give back. Now, the thing I think that you're getting to as far as the mature trees and clearing, in order to meet their permits, they may have to clear in order to get the grading correct, to be able to have the water move in a way that it is engineered to move and not pool or create an issue for the neighboring properties. So unfortunately, sometimes you have to clear in order to get grading correct so that the water flows the way it's supposed to, which is slowly, and not rush out and create an issue for neighboring properties. And I know that sounds somewhat backwards because a lot of times, you know, mature trees are thought of to soak up or whatever, but it may be an obstacle in order to put in what you need device wise that works. So I think with developers financially would rather not have to go and do all of that if they can, and they get credit for landscaping to keep mature trees. But unfortunately, in order to meet their permit requirements, it may be that they have to clear out further in order to be able to get the grade and the slope in a way that it needs to work for their erosion control permits, their state permits.
I think, I understand what you're saying, that there are instances where that happens, but I would say more often than not, they just do it because it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they just don't have a value for the trees. It's just,
Well, if they damage the trees, they don't want to leave them up. And I think that's part of the issue too, is that when they're out there clearing, if they damage any part of the rooting system of that tree, it'd be a liability for whoever's going to come in down the road, because sometimes
Yeah.
it takes a while for that to show itself. But as it currently stands, I think what you have is solid. But if you want to go a step further, that's what you have here currently. If you're trying to get lots that are going to not be houses, but space that residents would be enjoying for an amenity purpose.
This also is going to keep developers from pushing all of this recreational property, so-called recreational property in the floodplain. It's gonna pull that,
Right.
gonna pull that
It'd
property,
be where you would put a house,
right.
which is to your point earlier, that they were just throwing them into areas that they knew they weren't gonna use or build on to begin with. Now you're bringing it into the confines of where everybody actually is living. But
Yeah, but there's a way to do that without
yeah,
putting it every eighth of a mile or every
Without,
fourth of a mile, you
yeah,
know?
but
I mean-
quarter of a mile would get you a further distance, and it's 90%. So you're looking at, in a subdivision, take Riley's Meadows, or I think of your linear type subdivisions that are built out in a linear way. Because they're your extremes, not your round ones. You're going to probably end up having 3 or 4 of these type of lots that are going to be active spaces sprinkled in. And then you're going to have your major ones, your tennis courts or whatever that takes up more space in other areas. Now staff we can come back with something even different if you like. Or we can, but I think it's more or less trying to get something that council was looking to get, where you were trying to have these amenities within the,
and not pushed out on the side.
within the subdivision itself.
Talked with people from the planning board and they were very much in favor of that. So it passed the planning board, right?
It did. With the one,
They
the
wanted
1/8.
more.
they wanted to be,
they wanted 1/8, which was,
reduce it from a quarter to an eighth. I think that's,
Think that's too restrictive?
yeah.
you're gonna have a lot of, as you were saying, you're gonna have a lot of properties that would have this as a neighbor. But some people like it, some people really don't care for that to be the case.
You're also gonna put an undue burden on the HOA, because each one of these properties will have to be maintained and mowed and taken care of.
Oh, yes.
True, too.
Could you make it to where it's, that you could either have them spread out or one larger recreational space?
Well, I think they would have to have a large recreational space anyway, because 5,000 square feet is big. It, that's a lot. I mean, a tennis court isn't gonna take up that much space, but you think of a tennis court taking up a lot of space, and it doesn't in the grand scheme of things. So I think you're gonna have a large recreational space anyway, but this just gonna have it where you have the large recreational space with these sprinkled around, so they can get their total 5,000 for the overall subdivision.
The new subdivision they're doing down here on Gilbert Street, isn't that kind of what we're looking at now?
This would be similar to what we had off of Rogers Road, where I'm gonna say it was the David Michaels property, where it was requested, it was a R12 that was requested down to a 10,000. It's that particular type of subdivision.
Now, if they don't want to go down in the, or go up in the density or increase the density and do that, then they don't have to put these things
Yeah,
out.
this is only if they want to go the provision route. I mean, you can go straight rezoning and have 12,000 square foot lots, council approve it. Business as usual. You can go the conditional route, and council can make recommendations of any amenities that they want to see within the subdivision from that standpoint. Business as usual. This is only for the provisional request.
So I guess like what I'm thinking is like, I know you said like a dog park or whatever, but they're not gonna put like 10 dog parks in a big subdivision. They're gonna put, to me, I would think it would probably be like a multi-use, just open space green field, right?
Yeah, a lot of times what you might see like an ultimate frisbee field where people are able to go
Yeah.
to that.
Picnic
They have
tables.
the disc
Yeah.
golf,
Gazebos.
the gazebos with, I want to say Valley Field is similar, where you have gazebo with grills and stuff like that. You would see stuff like that.
Yeah, but we
My
just have.
argument is that we were allowing the developer to basically go up in the density, condense the housing, make smaller lots, and we're getting literally nothing for the citizen that's going in that development. They're getting nothing in exchange, effectively, in my opinion, because the majority of them were all flood zone areas that they were designated as open space that nobody wants to be in or use, and the developer can use it anyways, 9 out of 10 times. So, you know, I feel like it's an improvement.
Yeah, I think staff likes the quarter. I think it adds something to what's already been approved by council, which has taken it to another step for the developers. And you would not have as many pocket parks per se within the space, but you will have for people not to have to go all the way to the back of the subdivision, or the people from the back have to go all the way to the front to enjoy some type of recreational use of some type. So I think from the staff perspective, we like the quarter. Obviously, the planning board recommends 8, but if council wants us to go back and look at it in a different light, we can certainly do that as well.
We had changed an ordinance recently where we changed the wording to say that it had to be usable space, right?
That's the one I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we already did that, so they can't stick it in the floodplain anymore.
Right, that 5,000.
So that's already been taken care of. This doesn't, I mean, I don't know.
I think what you have currently is solid, but you have brought.
Yes,
the use-
I think it's solid enough,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's my opinion.
I would, if it's, okay with the board, I would recommend that we go with the quarter over the 1/8.
I agree.
I won't go for either one of them.
Okay. But the staff recommends it, right?
Yes, staff had recommended the quarter.
But if we didn't approve a quarter or your comment about the way the ordinance with the changes about usable has been, Right.
That really has taken it to, another step for the developer. I haven't had to see it come through yet because we haven't had anyone come through with it, but the next person that would come through with a request like that, that would be, a noticeable change in what has come through before, because now they're having to bring 5,000 square feet of usable space, recreation space into the project instead of having it on the outskirts.
yes, we're defining, say, you got to do, like I said, 5,000 square feet. I think by adding the restriction or the requirement of every quarter mile, are we getting to be,
I think it's a little much.
Well, what it's saying is that, you're not gonna cram all these houses together without having some green space.
right?
Is that not right, Aaron?
Yeah, you would have to give up a lot here and there with,
If you want us to go up in density and you want to cram more houses on a piece of property, then you're gonna have to turn over property that you could build on and turn that into green space.
Right.
So.
No
it's
problem with
gonna-
that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess,
Why do we need to now say, add this quarter mile
I don't
restriction
exactly.
requirement?
Not,
I just think there's a better way to do it than this. That's just my opinion.
you kind of have it now with the change that you recently did.
Mhm.
That brought it into the mix of the development currently, like you have it right now. What this would do is if you're wanting to go even further, then that's sort of bringing it in even more to have it pinpointed basically every so many lots. But you do have it now. So if you're asking the staff necessarily that we need to go this route, not necessarily, but if we had to go between the two, 1/8 or 1/4, staff would recommend the 1/4 over the 1/8, only because it can get somewhat excessive in how it may be on a larger subdivision.
Yeah.
But
why don't
we have
you,
now.
why don't you bring this back to council as it's written with an example of showing like an existing subdivision?
And it
that-
should, what it would look like.
Yeah, had they not used floodplain and had they designed it with this ordinance in place?
Yeah.
I feel like that would make council feel a lot better in seeing exactly how that would change a subdivision.
That's very doable.
Okay, thank you so much.
can you clarify this for me? Because I'm having a hard time wrapping. So if you've got the 5,000 square foot of usable space,
Mhm.
all right, so you put every quarter mile, just say you have 5 of these
Mhm.
areas. Well, are they gonna break that down to 1,000 square foot for each one? Because it's a 10,000 square foot lot, you're not gonna lose a lot.
It's,
If you're only required 5,000, they're not gonna give up 10,000 square feet every quarter of a mile.
right, they would design around that.
So,
So they would design to put a dog park, which would be,
if there was 5 of them, they were
Yeah.
gonna go to the minimum, so you're gonna have a little 1,000 square foot postage stamp. You're not gonna have a huge, nice park, green area. Am I thinking about this wrong?
no, you're looking at it right.
Okay.
What I'm getting at is knowing this ahead of time, they're gonna design around that. So they would do things in a way that they would not have necessarily 60-foot wide dog park. It may be 20 feet, so that they're able to still get locked in, but satisfy this requirement.
So it's not gonna be a open lot every so often. It's gonna be possibly a
It's gonna be-
1,000.
It's gonna be
And
breaks,
if it's even more, it may be a 500 or 600 square feet.
right, you're gonna have breaks
So
along the way.
That just makes it almost useless, really. I mean, because now now you're giving up a nice area that you could have had to put tennis courts and a dog park and some stuff together. In my,
Yeah, I think, like I said before, I think what you have currently will be able to meet the expectation of what you were hoping to gain by getting
I think,
some usable space within the confines of the projects.
I think we're gonna lose more by doing this than we are by putting
Just leaving
somewhere-
it usable.
Leaving it usable space,
Yeah.
Yep.
my
I agree.
opinion.
Yeah, I think,
Are we okay with them coming back to council
I
and
think-
explaining, showing how it would look?
well, again, what would we gain? I think that the fact that we have said usable space, and that way we leave it to the developer and their creative mind how to best put 5,000 square feet within the community, where they might break it up into different depending upon the topography of the land. But when you said every homes need to be within a quarter mile of a recreation spot.
Like I said, if you break it down and you have,
Might get worse.
if you have a big neighborhood and you have 8 of these quarter miles, I mean, they're gonna be so small, they're not gonna really
That'll be
benefit
usable.
anybody that much. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, but if we require it to be a full, complete,
This is not what this says. If they have 5,000 square feet and there's 6 of them, you're gonna have, what, 900 square foot of recreational space every quarter of a mile. 900 square foot is not a lot of space to do anything. You barely put a gazebo and a,
it's my understanding, this is on top of the 5,000, right?
No,
No. that's
no,
all
this
part
is
of the
allowing
5,000.
how they can parcel the 5,000 square feet.
how they can divide the 5,000 out between the lots. What I'm understanding.
I would think how you have it now would be,
Better.
would be sufficient for what you're trying to do.
Can you still take a subdivision that was not under these rules and come back and just show us how the new, like what we have now, would apply?
Yeah.
Use, what is it, Rogers Nest?
Yeah, I can use whichever one was able to get that provision and kind of show this is where you would, based off of a quarter of a mile from this point, these are all the lots that would be within this distance. And we could send that to you. That's not a problem. I could work that
And
out.
put down the size, how many of them are gonna be and what the size requirement would be
Right.
per open space.
Yeah, the difference is that these projects weren't designed around that.
Correct.
So I would have to like imagine that there's something in this particular point.
But you know, if you do this, the developer is gonna take advantage and make it the most cost effective as they can and not lose as much space as they can. So like I said, if there's 10 of them, they're gonna be, what, a little bitty.
Yeah, it would more or less be a strip that they may put some simple gazebo sitting area, and that's it. You know, that's what if I was a developer and I try to give them hints, that's what I would do to try to maximize this situation.
Mhm.
But having said that, I do think what we currently have in place now
Yeah,
is sufficient.
I think what we have but now is
But if-
better.
but
This
if
is gonna
we-
hurt.
But if we go with the quarter
I
um,
agree.
mile, project, wouldn't have a parking issue. Because everybody in that given area would be able to walk. Like if in Valleyfield, if someone has a party, then you got people parking on this side of the road, you got people parking in front of people's homes and up, Chartwell. So that eliminates some of the parking issues. That way people would be able to walk to it.
I mean, they could walk to it now. It's not that far.
I think a lot of it would depend on the design of the project. Is it your linear or your round type subdivision? Because they have different challenges as they pertain to the residents. But like I said, I can imagine a point on a subdivision and kind of show y'all what would be in that space. And I can have that sent to y'all. That's not a problem.
Another one you could look at is one over off of Council Road, Council Street. That one is not going in there.
Yeah, I'll look at it, see how it is laid out.
Well, Madam Mayor, can I make a motion that we table this to next month and have, the city come back to us with, pictures of an example?
Do I hear a
what this
second?
Look like?
I second the motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
For old business pedestrian plan update, I did get all my comments to Aaron, and I have like some pretty, I mean, it's 150 pages or 160 pages or something like that, but I had a lot of comments about the pedestrian plan. There was information in there that I did not find to be consistent with the downtown master plan. There's still references in there to the roundabouts that were taken out of the master plan. And I just don't want us, people use these documents as ways to get grants to be able to move forward with projects. And so we need to make sure that, things like that are addressed. There was some, from what I was reading from the surveys and stuff, it seemed like the most dangerous intersections were at the I-40, I-85 interchanges, but yet no improvements were recommended at the most dangerous intersections. I didn't understand that. I mean, to me, that's like where we should start. I think that, there's a lot of simple things that we can do that would make a big impact, like the intersection, like the sidewalk connecting from the new roundabout that's going in there on Elm and Hardin Street back up to Melville Street. That would connect that area all the way back up to Melville, to a laundromat, to a convenience store. And even though there isn't sidewalk going down Elm Street to the school, once you get to that area, it does provide sidewalks all the way back into town. And I think, that's a very small strip that if we could get, I don't know why it was listed, but it's like middle ways through the report. It's not on the list of the top priorities at the beginning. I don't know, there was a lot of things that I was concerned about that I think we need to address. Aaron's agreed to, sit down and go over those
Yeah.
things. And
And
so,
if anybody else has any other concerns, I think that would be a great way to handle it. Then we can bring it all back together. It's a big document, and where it may not be addressed here, somewhere in there, it probably is. So I think once we sit down and go through it, we may realize that we're probably saying some of the same things within that document. And then the parts that we don't need, we can just omit it out and change it and do whatever from there.
they were saying a signalized light on Bank Street and the police station. You're not going, that's a state road, right?
On Maple is, Banks is ours.
Yeah, but Maple is not ours, and they're talking about putting a signalized light there. They're not, as far as I know, they're not gonna put a signalized light with a driveway. You don't have a true intersection there. Why would they do that so close to the intersection of Pine and Maple? Is that even possible?
You have distance from Pine to there.
One block, I mean, it's one block, but there's, how are you gonna put in a signalized light with a driveway that doesn't, it's not exactly square, number one. It's not exactly like a cross. It like goes like this to go into that area.
I think we would have to kind of look at it and see. I'm not familiar with the flow into the fire department, I'm sorry, to the police department. I think it's generally trying to help the individuals coming in from banks. That is a dangerous intersection when you're trying to get on to Maple, because there is traffic right there. But again, we can look at the examples and stuff when we sit down and talk about it.
Are you telling me that it is possible to put an intersection light there with a driveway?
I guess what I'm saying is that I think it's better to answer that question whenever we have the data in front of us and we're talking with Bert and we're looking at what has been issues that we've had at that particular spot. No different than on Maple and Gilbert. Where you're saying that a roundabout, for example, would not be something that you would want to see in the city. That would be an excellent place to put a mini roundabout, because a four-way stop, even and that's what they're looking to go with, it's probably going to be something that it's going to be a high complaint situation down the road. But because we have to fix it, that's what they're going with. Although a mini roundabout there would be the more ideal traffic solution than a four-way stop. So I guess what I'm getting at, let's look at the data when we sit down and talk
I
about
can
it.
think of a single situation where there is a signalized light where one of the entrances is going into a driveway of a parking lot.
I think it's easier to talk about this when we're sitting down looking at it. I'm
Okay.
not familiar with the reasoning of what would prompt them to go that route in suggesting that. But if we look at it and if Bert has something that may have that, you may want to do something different with that driveway. Maybe it's move that driveway somewhere different or somewhere else. It may be different.
Explain the sidewalk on Ivy Road. There's so many other places to put sidewalk.
We need sidewalks all over Graham. And I
What?
think Mr. Westbrook would agree with the fact that we probably,
You got so many that need to be just connected.
yeah.
Yes,
The example is going down Elm Street, get to the corner, and not going to the roundabout.
Right.
But there's a sidewalk just around that corner on the other side.
And this plan is just addressing the fact, this plan is a very comprehensive plan. If you think about it, it's probably in here somewhere, and it just allows us to be able to move on. We have to grow with this plan. The plan that we currently have is a 2006 plan that we cannot use for a lot of what Graham is now.
but like sidewalks down Woody was one of the things where we have so much commercial. And my understanding is that the majority of that is going to be used for commercial. Why are we putting a sidewalk? Why is that even in a plan to put sidewalks in a commercial area all down Woody when we have so many other priorities that have actual residential?
But I think that's also saying that that is a place as well. We need sidewalks everywhere. The plan is 154 pages. It's saying that we
But
need
no, I'm
sidewalks
talking
everywhere.
about like, they have like 8 priorities. That's one of the priorities of 8. And I'm like, I don't agree with that.
But it's
me, I'm
it's a
like-
priority in that section, but the section is broken into different segments. It's a priority in that section, but in another section, it's other priorities that are mentioned. That's why I think it's better for us to sit down and talk so we can go through it and I can show you that, yes, you're right, that this is mentioned in this priority, but it's speaking to it from a perspective that's different than priorities over here. So that's why I'm saying, let's sit down, let's look at it, because it may be saying what you're saying in a different area. And what you're saying is further in the document, it may still be prioritizing it. It's just in a different section.
I guess my overall feeling about the pedestrian plan is that I want us to make sure that we are prioritizing projects that are actually feasible to be done, that make like financial sense and that are going to have the biggest impact. Those are the ones that should be a priority on the pedestrian plan. And I want to see us actually do them. I don't want to look at a pedestrian plan like the one we had from 20 years ago and nothing on there was done.
This plan is much better than the one we had before.
You and I may have to agree to disagree.
But I bet once we sit down, I can prove to you that it
And I
is.
will tell you, to say that it's going to cost $1 million to put sidewalks down Ivy Road and Woody Drive, I'd love to see that
But
be
you
it.
can't look at that because that's a
It
that's a
was.
snapshot in time. Like that's a snapshot that was done at a period that a year from now would be double. So
Where did they get that? I don't think you could do it right now at this moment in time. $1 million? I wish.
but you're looking at the wrong thing in the plan. Like that's giving you an idea of what it would cost in a perfect world, but that's not necessarily what it's gonna be when you get to it.
I know it's not what it's gonna be. My point is that I want us to have a plan that makes sense, that is doable and doesn't mislead people into thinking, well, let's do this project. And then like, say, for instance, the Elm Street project. Well, any contractor could looked at that project that was proposed in that initial plan and said, you're not gonna wanna spend this, you're gonna have to either do a road diet in order to do this, or you're gonna have to buy so many easements down this thing and build a wall because of the topography of that. Because there's several, and we'll go through them, but there's several examples in there where they say, well, let's put sidewalks in. And they got a creek crossing, you know as well as I do how much a creek crossing costs. They want this, they want that. They want to put, one of the things, like you're always trying to put sidewalks, in my opinion, on the side of the road that doesn't have all the utilities, so you're not moving 100 telephone poles. I just want it to make sense, and as I continued to read, there were a lot of things that seemed pie in the sky that didn't make, like, I didn't think that it was possible to do some of these things, and,
I think we would have a great meeting when we sit down and go over it.
okay, thank you.
And what
So,
what we don't like, we will change.
I mean, I want us to have a doable plan and be able to look at it
Let's
10 years from now and be happy that we accomplished
Oh,
what
absolutely.
we
But I
wanted to
want
do.
to say, I do think this plan is better than what we currently have because it's looking forward. It's looking at road diets. It's looking at opportunities that we can't go and get funding for with what we have now. Because the 06 plan is all we have. But this plan has a different viewpoint than that one, and it does allow us to look at the city and go after certain projects to improve that space that we currently didn't have the ability to do before. But I think once we sit down and look at it, I think we will have a good plan.
Okay, awesome. So, can we make a motion to table this until next month?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Westbrook, do you want to say something?
Thing I wanted to ask, the biggest thing I want to address is if there's a place where we have a grant already, aren't there places like that? Elm Street over there? And you told me that there's been a grant, DOT grant approved for that? If there's a place where there's a grant approved, would that make that project maybe a priority or not? I don't know.
What, there's no grant approved that I know of.
I've been told there was by the DOT, but I don't know.
Yeah,
That was a year ago.
yeah, I'm not
So,
sure about a grant.
You know, well,
Yeah, I know that we had reached out to them.
and Mr. Chin told me before too, mentioned that fact that, they had talked about widening the road.
That was proposed.
That was a
option.
proposal, I understand that.
Yeah.
But I, understood from them that there was a grant that was offered.
Haven't heard
I
anything
don't know
about
if it
that.
was ever, so that's not true.
Uh,
And are there any places where there are grants for sidewalks that we can utilize getting grants? I know y'all on top of that all the time.
Oh, yeah, we are
But
chasing the grant. for the
It just seems like there's other places where we're seeing sidewalks. We force a place when they remodel a place, you gotta build a sidewalk there. And that's about the dumbest thing I've ever seen, because you can't go no far from there to there. Then there's no more sidewalk. That's why I was talking about connecting the sidewalks where we can.
But that's how it's cheaper. By them putting in that
I-
with things, then we're able to come behind and fill in those
Mhm.
gaps where commercial entities may not fill
And-
in.
And why is there such gap as far as the money that's available to build sidewalks.
Cause North Carolina is bigger than Graham. And essentially.
Well, I know that, I get what you're
we have to
saying, and
compete
I
with-
honestly
we have
do,
to compete
but.
With every other municipality, all 500 and so municipalities in the city for a pot of money.
That's just like Greensboro. Look at Greensboro, as big as they are, they're gonna get everything and we're gonna get, if you get a crumb, you're lucky, I guess, right? But anyway, that was what it was about, was the grants, okay? Thank you.
Greensboro is raising taxes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, so, moving on to new business amendment ordinance, encroachments upon streets, sidewalks, and other public places. City council will consider an ordinance amendment for chapter 18, streets, sidewalks, and other public places, article 1 in general, section 18.2 and 18.6 of the code of ordinance. I recognize assistant city manager Aaron Holland. I'm sorry, my voice, I'm
Going on, man.
just still can't seem to get my voice back.
No problem. I think you basically said a lot of what I was gonna say myself, but, as our ordinance reads currently, anyone requesting to put anything in city spaces are limited to the sidewalk areas. We have had recent requests of the ability for someone to come before the city council to request to use space within a city parking lot to utilize for, a dumpster or whatever. We don't have a way for that to be approved as it currently is written. And what the ordinance has in it now is the ability for someone to request within parking lots in addition to the sidewalks and alleyways. So what you have before you is something that the attorneys have looked at, reviewed, and bringing to council for consideration, which is basically just to add including city parking lots as something that someone can come before you guys to request to utilize.
Okay. Any questions about this from the board?
Oh, ma'am.
Could we be opening up Pandora's box?
No, I think we pretty much already do this now for like, so if a business wants to take a building and convert it over that space to a restaurant and they want to put a grease trap in, I mean, it makes, I say Burlington should do more of this because the ideal place for that grease trap is out in the sidewalk in the utilities where your water, sewer, all that is at. It's much easier to clean and maintain and all of that sort of stuff. Burlington Beer Works in Burlington, when they converted that old historic building, they had ended up having to put the grease trap inside their eating area, which if you
Yeah.
know what goes in a grease trap, that seems sanitary. And every time they have to clean it, I mean, they have to run this pipe. You guys see the RV pipes and what they
Yeah.
pump out of them and stuff. So Pee Wee's septic tank cleaning shows up there because it's the same people that do septic tanks. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It's the same people. And they take that nasty, disgusting
Ugh.
germ-filled hose and drag it across the dining room floor and open up the container and pump out all the stuff in the grease trap. So, no, that, we need to continue to do that. We need to, and we've been doing that for years, and I
Yeah.
feel like that has been a positive thing. In regard to dumpsters and cardboard dumpsters and things like that, it alleviates when you can have 2 or 3 or 4 businesses even utilize the same space and have a dumpster kind of go in all together and use a dumpster. That space that it takes up is so much smaller than having 20 trash cans sitting out there and everybody having their individual trash cans. There's
What-
not as much trash pickup and trash flowing out of the trash cans and things like that.
What precludes a developer to say, I want to use city parking spaces to meet my parking requirement.
Well, I think that's different. That's,
Yeah, that is a
yeah, that's a different ask and
Okay,
than this. This is more so using it for a actual fixture of some sort. Use the grease trap, for example, a dumpster. And we have in the downtown area where you do have like a dumpster in a city lot, but there's no way for someone to come and ask for it now. It may have been approved in the olden days by a different mechanism that we wouldn't do in today's time.
Yeah.
And it just keeps everyone basically on a even playing field in their request. Council has the final say. If y'all don't feel it's a parking lot that should have that in it or lose a space or for
We still
whatever
have the
reason,
right
you
to
just
be
say
able to
no.
say
Right.
no.
yeah,
You have that, you still have that ability.
okay.
All right. So do I hear a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Aaron, what have you found out about the townhomes down there?
We've been busy.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we've been busy. We actually are setting up a meeting as we speak. I've seen the email come in since the meeting started as far as trying to pinpoint a date. And it looks like it's gonna be Thursday that we're gonna meet with the developer to go over some stuff. So we hope to have an update for you guys after that.
So there, we're getting just an unbearable amount of complaints about the parking situation there in one of the developments that was passed by the prior council, not by this council. And it was 3-bedroom townhomes and 1-car garages. And nobody uses their garage for their car, so they're just, I mean, you literally, you cannot drive down that street at night when everybody's parked there. Just imagine 5 cars with 1 townhome, and they're back to back to back to back to back. And, so it's just, it's a real problem for emergency workers. I mean, if somebody has a fire or something, it would really be an issue, I would think. I don't know, something's got to be done about it. And so I appreciate Aaron, you trying to work with the developer on trying to come up with a resolution and some overflow parking. And I'm very glad that we were able to get the other development to change those parking driveways and garages to 2-car garages and 2-car parking driveways for the other development that was there. I was getting those two confused because I was like, well,
Yeah.
I thought we tried to fix that,
It was the other one.
but it was 2 different ones. So
And Burke has
sorry.
been preaching pretty hard on his end. So, you know,
yeah, he sees what a darn mess it is, I'm sure.
yeah, so I think we have a good conversation on Thursday. It'll be a lot of what they're gonna have to do on their end. The city hasn't accepted the streets yet, so it's some heavy lifting that they're gonna have to do because they have that ability to do it where we're handcuffed in what we can actually do. But I'm looking forward to the conversation, Bert, myself, and the folks out there.
Okay. Just want to say, very excited that we got the $500,000 grant to do the PFAS study. We also, I got in the mail $119,437 grant for the Accessible Park Grant Program for Graham Rec for the ADA updates. Got that official letter in the mail for that grant. I did a school visit to Alamance Christian School, got all these wonderful thank you letters from the kids there. It's just such a great thing. I think like the best compliment you can get is after you go to one of those meetings and can we give you a hug? It was just like made my day. I just loved it. It was so great. We've got a lot of events. I'll let Bobby, mention some of the events that we have coming up. And, we've got, I just want to say about, Western Carolina. There's a lot that's been done here locally. We appreciate everybody that's trying to do things, appreciate the fire chief. Maybe if you want to come forward and talk a little bit about what you guys have been doing, as well in Western Carolina. I know Alco Vets has done a lot. They took, how many gas cans up there?
Couple of pallets.
Yeah. And, that was what they really, really needed.
Charcoal, propane.
Yeah, charcoal, propane. Glenn Raven has also stepped up and done quite a bit. They came and got, 4 commercial chainsaws and sent 4 people up there to do that. They're looking at now trying to help, replace somebody's home that washed away, in Western Carolina. Just wonderful people in the community, that are stepping up to help, these people who have literally lost everything. And it's so scary. I saw a news meteorologist literally break down in tears about Hurricane Milton, and what it has the potential to do. I think none of us in our lifetime has ever seen a hurricane like that. And I think he is, this is what somebody does every day for somebody an older gentleman to break down in tears about like what's potentially coming on Thursday. It really like makes you think. So I have a, employee that her parents are right there at Tampa. They've evacuated, but their house has a contract on it and they're supposed to close on the end of the month. They're supposed to be moving to Alabama. They're praying to God. They still have a house to sell. It's very scary for a lot of people, and it's their whole life's investment, I mean, if they lose everything and can't get insurance to cover these kind of losses, it's so scary for so many people. I can't imagine losing everything. And having to start over with nothing, literally the clothes on your back. And you see it every day. It's really scary.
Okay, Chief.
You're exactly right. It's probably one of the worst tragedies in our state's history. So on the 27th, which was a Friday after the storm, it kind of passed through here. One, we wanted to make sure there was obviously no impact on Graham in our community, in our county. Once we realized it was just pretty much a small rain event for us, we turned to a request by the Office of State Fire Marshal, who kind of coordinates fire service deployments across the state for different things. So we rostered up. Basically, you put your name in, it says, hey, we can provide, in our case, a fire engine and 4 personnel. They tell you about the personnel. You're not just able to go put 1 to 10. It's either 3 or 4. So we were able to do that. They approved the roster, which in there they approved that's good. And then you start working on the personnel part of it. So that was on Friday. Saturday morning, I received a phone call from OSFM, said, hey, we're going to deploy you guys. Go ahead and get everybody ready to go. So then our personnel, I had to come back up to the fire station and enter our personnel. It was, we'd already prepped to go. And so they departed by lunchtime. There's a little IT issue with the state getting us a mission number. We can't leave without a mission number. You can't just self-initiate to the mountains, or anywhere in the state for a disaster. So they left about lunchtime, got up there that afternoon, got briefed. Then they got assigned to Swannanoa, which had one of the biggest and quickest impacts in that particular area of Buncombe County. So they were there overnight. The next day, they got reassigned to West Buncombe Fire Department with a group of people. And then the next day, we got reassigned to Fairview Fire Department, which is a smaller rural area of Buncombe County. And we were a lone resource at that point. So we were basically handling the calls for the area. This particular fire department also had a line of duty death. Their deputy chief was killed in the initial impact of the storm. He was trying to rescue a neighbor, and got swept away in a mudslide and was killed in the line of duty. So not only were we there to assist that community, we were trying to help them, work through a line of duty death, event as well. And a lot of us, you know, you never have to experience that in your whole career, but definitely during an impact where some of these firemen don't even have homes anymore. I mean, and that's one of the things that we talked to our firefighters about before they left. So it was us, Hall River and Snow Camp. We went as a task force. We met out in the fire bay and had prayer with them, obviously, and talked to them about the deployment, you're going to see things that you've never seen before, unfortunately. Things you should never see as a human being. But one of the most important things is, you're going to go into, some area at that time we didn't know. You're going to go into a fire department, and those people, they have ownership in their location, their community, their fire department. I said, don't go in to try to take over. You're there to assist them. They'll put you into their system somehow or another. So, you may get your feelings hurt because they not wanting assistance. This is ours, you know, we'll protect this and that sort of thing, but you'll figure out how to make it work once you get there. And we sent great people, that can do that kind of thing. So that's exactly what's happened in that community. We've done everything from response, to calls in those communities, well-being checks. Those are the worst. That means somebody hasn't talked to a loved one and, they said this is where they lived, whether the house is still there or not, but we go out, we confirm whatever that outcome may be. So those are the things, the unknowns. As the water started to recede, with the equipment out to the rivers, and we dug vehicles out and set them on the side, and you look for occupants that may have drowned inside the vehicles. So we've done all that. We actually, the two Fairview has 3 fire stations. I think we're staffing like 2 of them. We've ripped the carpet out of their fire stations. We've ripped sheetrock out of their fire stations because they were flooded, trying to get them back to some sense of normalcy before we leave. So we've been on deployment. We did 4-day deployments. Initially, it was 7 days. The more I talked to my colleagues and mental health experts, I said, that's way too long for somebody to be seeing that day in and day out. So we cut our deployments back to 4 days, 4 and 5 days. So 1 day is obviously is a trade-off day. So we've done that. We're on our 3rd one, Wednesday. Send another team up, and they'll be there till Monday. We believe this may be our last deployment at this time. Whether there's more down the road, I think there will be a need, but at this time, this may be our last one. We talked to our folks when we get back. One of the things I done, they were all guys that went. Obviously, anybody could have went, but I got all their spouses and loved ones, their girlfriends or wives or whatever. We are in a text message. We continue to build upon that. Every time a new team goes, we just add people. I talk to them every day. This is what's going on. How you doing? If you need anything, let me know. We will be on it before you can blink an eye. And that's helped those loved ones understand what's going on. We don't tell them everything, but obviously we give them the good updates of things that we're hearing. And we're trying to prep them for when their loved one comes home. They're going to be different, right? You don't ask them what they saw or ask them what they did. You just love them and care for them. And, and we monitor that too. We've had one that said, I don't want to go back. It's fine. That's, and plus we're teaming up with Burlington and the Alamance County peer support, and we're going to do some debriefings for all of them when they get back. Yeah, we're concerned about mental health, right? I already know, I have good friends in that area of Asheville and Jackson County, Waynesville, that area, and they've already had firefighters say, I'm done. I don't want to see this anymore. So it's going to have a huge mental health impact on the fire service, law enforcement, EMS, whoever, the community in general. But we're, I hope we're prepared for that, and we've got things in places that we can assist. But, if we don't go, Josh doesn't take a crew or send a crew, and I don't send a crew, who does, right? So once we realized that we were not impacted, we went, because I know those folks do that for us.
Fire departments did lose all their equipment.
Yeah, a lot of them did. So that's been a request already. We're looking at some surplus stuff that we have back there. Fire departments, we're the world's worst about wanting to keep our old toys and stuff, but, we're gonna look and see if there's things that we can send. I've already talked to a couple of manufacturers. They're trying to get equipment donated or, at a very low cost or some, I don't know how this is. I don't think this has happened before, not in my lifetime, where I've seen this kind of impact. And we all know that that area of the mountains, probably outside of Asheville, very rural, maybe not, maybe some of the poorest areas of the state in some aspects. And they're gonna need help. And I don't know what the state's or FEMA, they said they're out of money. So I'm not really sure how that's gonna work out, but they're pretty resilient people. We've already seen that, and they've been grateful for us. We made great friends. Emerald Isle was tagged with us on one of the missions that we went on, and they said, "Hey, we're subject to get hit by a hurricane anytime. If that happens, we're calling Graham. We want you guys to come down and work with us. Bring the drone, and we know who you are and how you operate, and we'd love to have you come to Emerald Isle." So that's what it's all about. It's building relationships before these events ever happen. So
Every 4 days, you're not driving that fire truck up and down.
no, sir. So we sent the fire engine on the first deployment, but then we realized that you can't drive a fire engine around up there. Most time they want UTVs and four-wheelers. So the state, that was their request, but they called us back and said, "Hey, I think we'll be fine without your fire engine." So we sent our F-250 four-door up with the team, and the first team drove the engine back, and it's back in service. Thanks to the Blue Beacon for allowing us to carry it over and have it cleaned up and washed for us when we got back in service. It was quite nasty, but yeah. So we have one of our four-door pickup trucks. Burke has been generous enough to give us a couple of vehicles to help transport equipment and stuff as we swap teams. So everybody's been very kind, and we're taking donations. We're trying to figure out where to take those now. We want to make sure we take them into a community where we can give it straight to the people, try to avoid FEMA at all costs. FEMA's turning people away. We're already hearing donations away. I just don't understand how that's even possible, but it is happening. So the Graham residents have been very generous and kind to us. Maple Street Tavern collected a tremendous amount of stuff for us. The mayor and her businesses have offered things to assist us as well. So yeah, I know that's a lot of information, but it's a lot going on. And my guys, the only thing I ever asked them, I said, the words that people use to describe what's happening, is it enough? He said, never. There are no words to describe what Western North Carolina looks like. It's sad.
So sad.
Yep, so sad.
Yeah.
But thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for your.
Thank you very much. Please relay our heartfelt thanks to your staff as well.
Yep.
You have anything? Yeah, anything, Brian? Aaron?
Yes, one thing, we did receive from the Valleyfield HOA a request for, city staff to evaluate, installing no parking signs from the entrance of the Valleyfield community to where no parking, starts within that community. We just need a consensus from council for staff to look into that, and then we would bring back a report for staff, for council to consider, that to be added to our traffic schedule.
So I had sent you that HOA rules that show that the HOA can put parking enforcement in place. Did you get that?
I didn't see it, no.
Did you get it? Yeah,
That's the one Riley's Metals has.
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, I did, yeah,
Yeah,
I saw that.
so
with them,
they
yeah.
can, so that you guys can do that. Is it preferable for the city
I
to?
I don't think we can do that because it's a city street. I mean, they're city streets. We can't.
I'm asking you.
Can the HOA can do that on a city street. The city cannot enforce HOA covenants. So if the HOA wishes to take that upon themselves to enforce, which they
Yeah,
generally
no.
don't, the city has it. The difference between us and the Riley's Meadows is that we don't control those streets. We do in Valleyfield, so it does make it a simpler path to do no parking by us having that added to our traffic schedule. And then PD would then be able to enforce it based on it being basically in ordinance. form.
I mean,
As it stands now, if it's not there, then you can park along that stretch as you so please.
And it's a stretch from the beginning of the road all the way back on.
no, it goes from, the beginning down to, 2430, 2431. No, it's not a big stretch because it already starts no parking right after that, for the whole S curve.
Which council approved like 10, 11 years ago.
It's 12 years ago, 2012 or something like that. And they did the study on doing that entire stretch from the entrance down. But for some reason, the HOA at that time elected not to do it from the entrance all the way down. They just did it from a certain area down.
Yeah.
But it has since gotten much worse, with people just parking in the street and you almost get hit head on coming in and out of there all the time. So,
It's becoming an issue of getting school buses in.
yeah, it's an issue with them too, yeah. So,
Okay, so then do you advertise that with the residents so that they know?
So how we done it in the past, whenever we get the report back from, it's usually PD and Public Works that work together to look at that. Once we get that back from them, we will then let the residents that will be impacted in that stretch, we send those letters, letting them know that this will be at an upcoming council meeting. We put the date in it. And then if they want to speak for, against, whatever, they'll have that opportunity to do so.
And Bob, will Ricky and Bonnie be able to vote or will they have to recuse themselves? Okay. Okay. Okay, so it's the consensus then for you to investigate that. Is that okay with you, Joey?
Yeah.
Rick, Bobby? Okay, all right. Do you have anything, my darling?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, Aaron, if you could please, or Renee, if you could reach out to the gentleman, I believe his last name is, from the bar there that said something about the planners, that you'll let him know that we passed funding to replace those planners and that we anticipate that construction on those planners will start within the next 60 days.
I double check with Bert, but we'll put it in there. For
Okay.
George.
All right, if you could just let him know that we're working on it, okay? And then Bobby, tell us about
Okay.
events and what Alco Vets is doing and.
All right, right now, the events that are coming up for October. Third Saturday, it's our last concert, and car show. You got, all of a sudden the band's gone, I've gone blank on the band.
Sidekicks.
Sidekick, all right. And then November 9th, you've got the Veterans Day Parade, followed by the Alcovets Festival, where we'll have Jordan Pickett and a new artist singing. We'll be giving away the raffle, the Razor, that Saturday. Alcovets has been involved with supplying things to a group of veterans who are down in Spanoa. And in fact, the New York Post had an article about them yesterday. And the title of it is Special Ops Vets Form the Redneck Air Force to ferry aid in the North Carolina mountains after the feds come up short. And then it says in quote, who's FEMA? But anyway, we've been working with them earlier in the week, or I guess last Friday. Chuck and his son took charcoal, propane canisters, fuel cans and everything else and delivered them to the folks who are using the Harley-Davidson dealership as their base camp. And this group of veterans that came together and, to meet a need. And they have, a couple of our guys And of course, then Charlie Mike went down with them and they set up a second base camp down at, Mill Creek. But anyway, then one of the needs that popped up was the need for gas cans. So we made arrangements with a company in West Virginia, and Chuck and his son went and picked up a couple of pallets of gas cans and delivered them Sunday night. Because they said that's the problem, being able to get fuel to the folks in the mountain for the generators and such. And so we stepped in working with the Petty Foundation to meet that need. So the vets there in, however you pronounce it, Swanoa, they're going to continue to operate. We have heard that the group down at Mill Springs, which was staffed mainly with Charlie Mike veterans, are thinking they're going to pack up and head south to Florida because Dustin is from Florida. And so they're looking at basically moving south to help when Milton hits down there. We as an organization, we have put up on our webpage a donation to help folks in Western North Carolina. Again, as the Chief said, words cannot describe how bad it is. So it's gonna be a long road.
Let's
Yeah.
add to what Bobby said. The people I talked to up there when I was up there last week was, the big concern is the next big news story they're gonna be forgotten about. That's their
Milton.
biggest fear.
Yep.
Yep.
So this was really before Milton formed.
Right.
This was
Yeah.
That's
like last
it.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That, they're gonna be forgotten. And in no ways is this a sprint. This is a marathon. They got a long road. I mean, if you've been up there, you can't even comprehend where a river was or where a creek was is now dry. And it's running through where homes were.
Yeah.
It rerouted the whole topography and the geography of the land. And it's just, until you're there and you see it, I mean, I didn't see anything, I know like your fireman saw, but it'll mess with you mentally. I mean, because you're so overwhelmed and don't know what to do. You want to do so much, but it's so hard to do anything because it's in such disarray. I mean, you don't know where to start. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
When
just,
they tell you whole towns are gone, they'll never
Mhm.
see towns again. It's a hard process.
Yeah.
so, but the main thing is, their biggest concern was people forgetting about them.
Yeah.
And, a lot of these people, unfortunately, are not leaving, even though some of them can get out, they're not leaving their properties because they're truly scared the government's gonna come in and take their land from them. So they're
And that's
staking their
not
claim.
that's
Not unheard of.
that's not a fleeting thought. There's
Nope.
nor in that area specifically, Spruce Hill, I think they're trying to get that quartz
Uh-huh.
mine passed with a state permit, and
I got
they're trying to get a
lithium too.
lithium
Yep.
plant,
Yep.
mine there, and local residents were fighting that,
That was
to the
in
nail.
Black Mountain, right?
But now, like, you had a house, it's $250,000 house, you still got a mortgage, but you have no house anymore, and you have no insurance to reimburse you or the bank. So you still have a mortgage, you have nothing there, like, and the fact that you don't think that one of these big corporations that is trying to get rid of all this opposition that wants, in a $529 billion,
Mm-hmm.
industry, that they won't swoop in and say, well, we'll buy your lot really cheap because now all you have is a lot. I just don't want them to get taken advantage of a second time, and they're already, so vulnerable, I guess, and such a, sad situation. And, I really hope that, the government steps up to help these people, and it's gonna take a lot more than a $750 check, to get these people right. And, I really hope that, somebody does something to get them back on the path. They need equipment up there, but it's like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's like, you don't have roads to even transport equipment, heavy equipment, where it needs to go to start moving dirt and moving stuff out of the way to even open roads up to get more equipment in there. It's just, like, I saw somebody that took a bunch of trailers that got wrecked. And this is like where you go back to the New York Times thing. And he has heavy equipment, and he basically towed 3 tractor trailers that were wrecked and put them in a area where a bridge used to exist, and they're driving across the tractor trailers. And he's like, hey, it's working, it works. And I just love it because, like, that's
Tech engineering.
the mother of invention, right? So they're desperate people, and they need help, and I appreciate everybody digging deep to do what they can to help everybody
Yeah.
there. It's been very, as sad as it's been, it's a true testimony to how wonderful the community is, that they've really done a whole lot to try to help them kind of in this bad situation. Do you have anything, Bonnie?
Well, just kind of add to that, the sad part too, they're gonna be, they still got a lot of people that are missing, and like you were talking about, Chief, your guys go in there and they're gonna be they're pulling bodies. My sister talked to a highway patrolman friend of hers in Asheville, and, they're pulling bodies every day out of mud, trees, and fences. And it's gonna be a long, long process, and the toll is gonna keep rising, the death toll. So we just gotta pray for everybody, because and it's hard on, like you said, the people, the first responders too, because, they've never seen anything like that. And, I don't think, unless you've been in, in the military in battle, that you've ever seen anything like that. It's that bad. I mean, so I think we just need to keep that in mind, so.
Yeah, some of Elko Vets members have seen some stuff that is pretty disturbing, and pretty
Yeah,
sad, and
and it brings
Yeah.
back bad memories,
yeah.
especially for them,
Yep.
so just keep everybody in your prayers.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn tonight?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.